Shock and a hint of confusion flashed past the depths of Meng Kongqen's eyes, and everyone else's hearts were filled with surprise and puzzlement. Meng Kongqen took a step forward and bowed. In reply to the abyssal monarch, "This is indeed my unworthy son, Jianyuan." Jianyuan once encountered a calamity and was lost for 100 years, but heaven took pity on Dreamweaver, protecting Jianyuan so that he could return alive. He even awakened a perfect divine essence after his birth. "Yuaner, come quickly to pay respects to the abyssal monarch." Amidst his surprise, Meng Kongqen's heart couldn't help but stir with agitation. If he could let Meng Jianyuan become familiar to the abyssal monarch first, the resistance to his matter with Hua Kali would decrease by a fraction. It would bring only benefits and no harm to his future. Yun Qi stood by Meng Kongqen's side, bowing to the exact same degree. Dreamweaver's Yun Qi pays his respects to the abyssal monarch. The corner of Meng Kongqen's eye twitched slightly, and the expressions of everyone else turned subtle. His insistence on calling himself Yun Qi was basically known to all 6 kingdoms. But in this situation, after Meng Kongqen had just introduced him to the abyssal monarch by the name Meng Jianyuan, for him to still act like this indeed showed 3 parts persistence, but 7 parts ignorance of propriety. The abyssal monarch, however, did not mind in the slightest. On his face, which was veiled in faint divine radiance, there was instead a vague hint of a sigh. A perfect divine essence, difficult to appear once in 10,000 years, yet appearing twice in one era. This is something that has never happened before. Son of darkness, glazed glass ice, 9 profound body, twin stars appearing in the abyss. In this era, anomalies occur frequently. Perhaps they are all omens of the imminent arrival of the eternal Pure Land. At the abyssal monarch's words, everyone listened quietly with pricked ears. The monarch spoke no superfluous words. There must be deep meaning. The eternal Pure Land is near. This battle of divine suns may be the last of this age. With such a brilliant star descending from the heavens, how can it remain silent in this battle? The abyssal monarch's meaning was already clear, astonishing the crowd, yet seemingly reasonable. The last divine sun battle of this age, a perfect twin star breaking history. Indeed, he should be announced to the world and shine his starlight upon this pure land. Meng Kongqen felt joy in his heart, but on his face he maintained a humble expression. To receive such praise from the abyssal monarch is the supreme glory of my unworthy son Jianyuan and the Dreamweaver kingdom. Kongqen is extremely terrified. It is just that Jianyuan has been drifting outside for these 100 years and has not enjoyed any Dreamweaver resources. Now his cultivation is only at the divine master realm. Such a minute light, I fear, is difficult to enter the eyes of the abyssal monarch and everyone here. Ha 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 ha, the dreamless divine regent is wrong in these words. Diane Liu, whose ear-shaking voice rang out boldly. Not relying on a kingdom of God, yet achieving the 4th level of the divine master realm at the age of 120. If he had settled in Dreamweaver for these 100 years, that would be incredible. Diane Liu, who continued, "To not hide it from everyone, my unworthy son Jiaji praised Meng Jianyuan endlessly after chatting with him. In these few years, he mentioned him many times, and whenever he mentioned him, he praised him. In his 3,120 years of life, this is the first time he has respected and praised a person to this extent. Based on this point alone, even this regent wants to witness with his own eyes what level this kid's ability can reach." Diane Liu, whose temperament was upright and outspoken. He never disdained to give false praise or speak empty words. Diane Jiaji showed a faint smile on his face, expressing agreement. Hua Fuchen also smiled and spoke out. Yun Qi is now only 120 years old. For a god-bearer, he is still at a young age, so the level of his cultivation realm is not important. Since he possesses a perfect divine essence, he must have aspects that stun the world. This is a miracle of the whole world, and naturally should bloom in the Pure Land and shine in the abyssal world. A pair of close friends had already pushed the words to this point for him. Meng Kongqen naturally put away his difficulty and said solemnly, "Since it is so, my Dreamweaver naturally obeys the command." His line of sight turned, his gaze looking at Yun Qi containing deep meaning. "Yuaner, this is appointed by the abyssal monarch, the utmost glory and fortune. You shall demonstrate your might as a perfect god-bearer to the abyssal monarch and the people of the world atop this Eden's crown. No need to be apprehensive, just be as usual. As for how to demonstrate, it is all up to your wish." As for Yun Qi's might, he was truly not worried at all. Instead, he was worried about scaring the group of divine regents. This opportunity that suddenly fell from the sky was undoubtedly a huge surprise of this Pure Land conference. Hua Kaylee half hid her cheek behind Hua Kingying, but she still could not hide her eyebrows curving into crescents. Yes, Yun Chi responded respectfully, then straightened his body. Meeting the various different gazes, he walked very calmly and composedly into the battlefield barrier that had not yet been withdrawn. He felt countless gazes concentrating on his body, and that beam of malice from Diane Sansi, deeply hiding extreme hatred, was even more clearly distinguishable. Shen Wuye's line of sight also truly fell on Yun Chi's body for the first time. An inexplicable sense of trance floated before her eyes, like a layer of self-condensing ice fog. Startled awake in an instant, her line of sight quickly recovered its cold condensation, replaced by a flash of doubt and confusion. Standing on the battlefield of the Divine Sun battle with a non-Divine Sun body. This was probably also a first for the Pure Land Conference. His expression was composed, his steps leisurely. From the Divine Regents above to the juniors below, not a single person could detect even a trace of nervousness or apprehension. And that was absolutely not a calmness feigned, but a composure from the inside out. Just this point alone made the powerhouses of the various kingdoms of God marvel and sigh in their hearts. Arriving at the center of the battlefield, Yun Chi stopped his steps and looked around, but did not release his profound energy. Instead, he said loudly, Dreamweaver's Yun Chi is here to boldly challenge the peer powerhouses of the various kingdoms of God. Please do not be stingy with your instructions. A spar between similar strengths was undoubtedly the best way to demonstrate. Yun Chi's action was not surprising at all. But after his shout, no one responded for a long time. Although Yun Chi was not the Dreamweaver Divine Son, he possessed a perfect divine essence, and Meng Kongqin's doting on him was written directly on his face. In the future, it could be said that he would inevitably be the Dreamweaver Divine Son. Since Yun Chi issued the challenge with a non-divine sun body, the responders naturally could only be peers of the kingdoms of God with non-divine sun identities. In this way, if they lost, they would damage their face in vain, and simply be reduced to stepping stones for Yun Chi to display the grace of the perfect divine essence. But if they accidentally won, the consequences would be far more serious than losing. Not only would they offend the future Dreamweaver Divine Son, but they would also cause the entire Dreamweaver Kingdom of God to lose face. Perhaps even the abyssal monarch who proposed this suggestion would have his interest spoiled. Moreover, although the news of the Dreamweaver Kingdom of God's God-conferring ceremony 3 years ago was blocked by Meng Kongqin, there were ultimately extremely many spectators. The news of Yun Chi easily defeating a group of same-realm profound practitioners with the power of one person had also long spread to the various kingdoms. Amidst the silence, the chief high priest's bell-like, ear-shaking, and muffled voice rang out. Since no one challenges, I grant you the right close to that of a divine sun battle. You may choose anyone to fight at will, and the other party may not refuse the battle. The chief high priest's words were obviously complying with the abyssal monarch's will. Thank you, Chief High Priest. Yun Chi bowed faintly, then his body and gaze shifted synchronously, sweeping toward the entire venue again. His gaze shifted very slowly, obviously staying on every person very meticulously. From the Star and Moon Kingdom of God, to the Owl Butterfly Kingdom of God, to the Heaven Breaker Kingdom of God, and then to the Boundless Kingdom of God. His gaze remained meticulous and slow, but at the instant it fell on Diane Sansi's body, it shifted away instantly, as if touching some unbearable, filthy thing. Even the corner of his mouth twitched imperceptibly. This appeared as no abnormality in the eyes of others, but Diane Sansi, who met that instant of Yun Chi's gaze directly, instantly had blood rushing to the top of his head. The hatred, grievance, and anger that had been stuck dead in his throat submerged the majority of his reason along with the violently surging blood. He suddenly stomped one step forward and roared sternly, Yun Chi, I will fight you. Sansi. Diane Jiaji was greatly alarmed in his heart, quickly reaching out to pull Diane Sansi's arm. He had witnessed with his own eyes the shocking scene of Yun Chi sweeping through same-realm profound practitioners. He knew that after Diane Sansi was suppressed to the same realm, he would absolutely not be his opponent. And what worried him more than this was Diane Sansi's obviously abnormal emotions. Good kid, Diane Liu sighed first, then laughed. As the saying goes, no acquaintance without a fight. Then fight a good battle just right to release all this resentment. This was Eden's crown. Since the words were spoken, they could not be retrieved. Diane Jiaji could only say in an extremely low voice, "Only fight, absolutely do not cause trouble. Remember what I said and your promise." Even if the voice was suppressed lower, how could it deceive Diane Liuhu? His gaze slanted slightly, but with his coarse nerves, he would not interfere or question the matters between juniors. After Diane Sansi roared out, he had a few moments of regret, but what followed was the desire to vent. He sucked in a deep breath violently and said in a low voice, "Brother Jiaji, rest assured, only fight." "No words." Diane Jiaji let go of his hand. Diane Sansi leaped high, entering straight into the barrier. The instant he landed, he brought up terrifying air waves and a heaven-shaking boom. "Tusk, what great resentment," Meng Jiangxi said, not without ridicule. No matter how Diane Sansi suppressed it, what kind of existences were the people present? That hatred and resentment that had reached the critical point of endurance could be easily detected, but they did not feel it was too strange. Diane Jiaji was both a brother and a teacher to Diane Sansi. Diane Sansi worshipped and respected Diane Jiaji the most in this life, a matter known to everyone. And as the first divine son, Diane Jiaji suffered such a miserable defeat today, his halo completely lost, and was even humiliated by the lightless divine regent with extremely vicious and unbearable language. How could he not be angry and resentful? Everyone, including the boundless kingdom of God from top to bottom, deeply believed that this resentment of his that almost rushed to the top was because of Diane Jiaji. This challenge also had the intent of venting. Yun Qi narrowed his eyes slightly, facing Diane Sansi, whose eyes were surging with tides of hatred head-on, but said in his soul not without pride, "Look, didn't he come just like that?" Li Xue whispered, outside Ling Xian's divine dwelling when you detected Diane Jiaji and Diane Sansi approaching. Was it really just a spur of the moment? Of course, Yun Qi said leisurely, there are many ways. Encountering a particularly handy one, naturally I have to grab it and use it decisively. And since I'm going to use it, then use it to the extreme, otherwise wouldn't it be a pity? Hand. Why? Correct. In the intelligence of the Xuanji Hall regarding Diane Sansi, besides the evaluation that his temperament is still somewhat immature, the handiest item is that he relies on and respects Diane Jiaji extremely. Li Xue responded silently. So it is Brother Sansi. Yun Qi revealed a smile on his face, and apart from Diane Sansi opposite him, no one knew what deep malice was hidden behind this harmless smile. "Thank you for honoring me with your instructions." Diane Sansi's fists tightened slightly. He did not speak. He promised Diane Jiaji only fight, no words, and was even more afraid that once he opened his mouth, his language would lose control. The chief high priest raised his hand, and that familiar ancient bronze profound light shone slightly. Dreamweaver's Meng Jianyuan, cultivation at the 4th level of the Divine Master Realm. Boundless's Diane Sansi, cultivation at the 3rd level of the Divine Extinction Realm. Need to grant the profound, desolate seal to balance cultivation. However, the cultivation gap between the two is too large, involving the suppression of a great realm. Aside from profound strength, the great realm's suppression of body intensity will be accompanied by several breaths of severe pain throughout the body. No matter. Diane Sansi responded to the chief high priest with a still fairly calm voice, troubling the chief high priest to execute it. But following that, a voice several times clearer rang out. "Brother Sansi is honoring me with instructions. How can I let Brother Sansi suffer this calamity because of my own low cultivation? I ask the chief high priest not to grant the profound desolate seal." Different from Shenwu Yi refusing the profound desolate seal earlier, the chief high priest did not put away the profound desolate seal cleanly and neatly, but was obviously stunned for a moment. Because the difference between the two was not one or two small realms, but a difference of a full 9 realms, plus a chasm of a great realm. Divine Extinction Realm Level 6 and Divine Extinction Realm Level 8 were cultivation discrepancies within the half-god domain. But Divine Master Realm and Divine Extinction Realm, those were completely powers of 2 different planes. If even the chief high priest reacted like this, the others could be imagined. "Ha ha ha ha!" Diane Liuhu laughed loudly. "This kid, what silly words is he saying?" Diane Jiaji didn't laugh, but his eyes were equally full of puzzlement and astonishment. He had witnessed Yun Qi's action with his own eyes. If one said he could surpass 2 small realms to defeat an opponent like Shenwu Yi, he would not be very surprised. But no matter what, it was impossible to believe he was qualified to face the power of the Divine Extinction Realm, let alone Diane Sansi without suppressed realm. This, Brother Yuan, is. Meng Jiangxi subconsciously turned his head to look at Meng Kongqun, but discovered that his father god's face presented a patch of strange calmness, seemingly even exchanging a meaningful look with the heart painter, divine regent opposite him. Meng Jiangxi put away his voice, his gaze staring back at the battlefield, all his spirit also concentrating on his line of sight. With the condensation of his spirit, the surrounding light and the sounds by his ears weakened rapidly. Only the sound of his heart beating was incomparably violent. Could it be? He could actually really use the Divine Master Realm. To rival the Divine Extinction Realm? Is he serious? Sha Xing's entire face had disbelief written on it. Does not seem like a joke. In such a situation, it also does not allow for jokes. Xian Yue gazed at Yun Qi's expression, frowning in puzzlement. He tried his best to ponder the intention of Yun Qi saying these words, but absolutely could not believe he could rival Diane Sansi with this cultivation. Not even a single exchange of resistance was possible. Wu Shengxing and Wu Shenyu looked at each other, their expressions subtle. What perfect divine essence lost his mind, right? Pan Buzhuo, whose right face still hung an ugly scar, sneered in a low voice. Pan Yusheng, however, looked sideways at Meng Kongqun's expression, frowning slightly. The chief high priest closed his 5 fingers, and the profound, desolate seal dispersed just like that. Since it is so, then the profound, desolate seal will not be applied. This battle begins. Battlefield rules are the same as the Divine Sun battle.